Well, welcome to this meeting where you will learn and hear more about the opportunity to be part of the decarbonization of New York and also establish and grow through the Impact Hub in New York. And I'm Ann-Sofie Gaverstedt, representing the non-for-profit organization for trade, Urban Tech Sweden, and I will guide you through this event. And please note that the event will be recorded, and you can also feel free to ask questions in the chat during the presentation so that I can ask them directly to the speakers. But we will also give you opportunity to ask questions directly after the last presentation. So Impact Hub and this showroom Accelerator, it really, as we see it, we do have 4 ambitions with this showroom Accelerator linked to the Impact Hub. The first one is we want it to be a New York landmark innovation center and really a meeting point for stakeholders to advance the 2030 goals and tackle climate change. But it also will be a physical showroom where we will see deployed solution in reality implemented. And the hub, we will also want it to be a storytelling space where different success stories can be told and also visualized. And to link to this space, there will be an accelerator program that we'll also hear more about today. But before getting into concrete information on the Impact Hub New York, we will give you a broader picture of the opportunities as a company to be part of the US and the New York's transition. Now, let's see, do we have Annika online now? No.
That doesn't look like she's online yet. I tried to call her, but yeah.
So I will directly hand over to you, Michael Reed, Team Lead Advanced Efficiency Solution at NYSERDA, which is really the energy agency in the state of New York. So NYSERDA stands for New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. So Michael, are you online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
So
good
tell
morning.
us, so good morning and good afternoon. So why should Swedish sustainable climate smart community, the companies and all the other stakeholders invest their resources in New York? Tell us.
Okay, well, what a question. Thank you first for inviting me to talk with you all. I think the answer to that question is, first of all, New York City is the greatest city in the world. So why wouldn't you want to come to New York City? But above and beyond that, there's a huge business opportunity here. So I want to be brief, but I want to make 3 points very clear. Number one, New York has over 3 billion square feet of commercial office and multifamily buildings. That's just in New York City alone. And over the next 30 years, per our state's Climate Act, as well as much of legislation that's happening in New York City, we have to figure out how to transition that 3 billion plus square feet of commercial office and multifamily buildings to zero carbon emissions. So this is a massive opportunity for clean energy solution providers that have scalable solutions that can help transition buildings to low carbon levels of performance. So that's number one, the sheer size of the addressable market. Number two, we have many of the largest real estate portfolio owners and developers headquartered here in New York City, and a substantial portion of them are very interested in scalable, low carbon building solutions. We're going to hear from my friend and colleague Mike Izzo at Hines a little bit later this morning, and Hines is absolutely a leader in sustainable buildings, but there are many other real estate owners and developers who are really ready for these types of investments, right? So you have a huge addressable market and you have, I would say, a very attractive first customer. And then number three is that if you can do it in New York, you can do it anywhere, right? So I think the opportunity to come to New York, make New York your beachhead into the broader North American market is a huge opportunity. So certainly We think New York is a leader, but we understand there are many, many buildings in North America that also need to decarbonize. And I think making New York your headquarters for North America will help you expand beyond New York to the broader region and to the continent. So those are my answers.
So it's really a door opener for the US, but also to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think
it is. Yeah. So you mentioned scalable low carbon solutions. Can you mention some specific focus areas in this that are of special interest for you?
Absolutely. So as we talk about particularly bigger high-rise buildings, uh, the opportunity for advanced heat pumps is we really need more high-quality solutions that can enable electrification of heating loads in our existing commercial office and multifamily buildings. So advanced heat pump solutions is one. A second area of need is around thermal storage. Certainly, that is an important, you know, complement to an advanced heat pump solution. But just in general, the ability to manage um, a building's demand so as to be flatter and not too spiky is going to be critically important, particularly as we make progress on our efforts to green the grid here in New York. And then another area of need is for innovation with respect to business models. So the business as usual approach to retrofit design and implementation is not, well, I should be careful what I say here. The business as usual approach is unlikely to allow us to achieve our climate goals. So we need an influx of approaches, whether that's engineering firms or developers, ESCOs, what have you, that can reduce the risk to building owners while also increasing the ability to deliver low carbon buildings. So to the extent that there are solutions currently in Sweden and other Nordic countries, we really would love to bring that to New York. And again, I don't want to be seen as giving undue endorsement of any firm, but certainly Will Sibia has done a lot of great thinking on this topic, and I'm sure he's got some thoughts that he'll be eager to share.
He sits here and smiles now. It's like, yes. Yeah. Okay. So really, solution for decarbonizing tall buildings, electrifications, and also the building environment itself, but also business models and new ideas how to do this transition. So that is really what you're looking for now. So which tools, programs, and support could you give to Swedish companies that would like to enter the market?
Great question. So one of the biggest programs that we have at NYSERDA right now is something called the Empire Building Challenge, and that's a $50 million initiative working with leading real estate portfolio owners to demonstrate replicable low carbon retrofit approaches. So that is a program. If you Google NYSERDA Empire Building Challenge, you can find out all about that initiative. In addition, or as part of that program, we do intend to announce in next year our Empire Technology Prize, which will be focused on supporting disruptive approaches to scaling low carbon retrofits. Outside of the Empire Building Challenge, NYSERDA is doing a lot around supporting advanced building solutions. So we periodically run our next generation HVAC challenge. And I think we have another one of those coming up in the not too distant future. And our tech to market team has a number of initiatives, as well as Retrofit New York, which is focused on multifamily buildings. So there's a lot of different programming that companies can take advantage of. Of course, it can be very difficult to navigate the myriad NYSERDA programs. And so I'd be happy to talk with Swedish companies that are interested in getting a clearer snapshot of the opportunity. If I could just make two other quick points.
Yeah.
So incentive programs are great sometimes, but one thing we're really focused on is how to transform the market outside of a specific program. And so I do want to highlight New York City passed a local law that places a carbon cap on building emissions. This is called Local Law 97, and it's part of New York City's Climate Mobilization Act. And there, building owners are potentially faced with fines if they don't lower their carbon emissions. So, who cares about incentive programs, right? I think there is the opportunity for companies to put forward a value proposition that can pay for itself via avoiding fines as well as the benefits of efficiency, which reduces overall energy costs.
Great. And we will soon listen to Mike from Heinz, but how have you supported Heinz and their partners on the work at Hudson Square Properties?
Well, I think there it's been a real privilege to get to. I think there's been a lot of talk about what buildings can and cannot do, and what Mike at Heinz with his partners has come forward to actually study a real world building and to come up with a plan that could that has a business case behind it and that could be broadly replicated. So we have supported the technical analysis work that Mike and his team have done at 100 Avenue of the Americas, which is part of the Hudson Square portfolio. And we look forward to making the results of that analysis widely available as that analysis work wraps up. So over the coming months, we do anticipate being able to make this public. And there, our role has really just been to support Mike and his team. And I think this is the really important thing to underline is NYSERDA, New York State, we have ambitious goals, but it doesn't mean anything without private sector leadership and investment. And I think that's the story that I'd want all Swedish companies to understand. There are a lot of real estate owners who are making these investments, developing plans for this low carbon transition, and the availability of high quality, relatively affordable solutions is what we need.
Thank you so much, Michael. And yeah, you really presented the opportunities for Swedish companies. Really good. So now we'll try to go back to do the introduction of Annika, the Consul General of Sweden in New York. Can you hear us now? And can we hear you?
Let's try. I'm
yes.
terribly sorry. I thought that we, after 14 months, had learned to master the technology, but obviously some days are just not your days. I'm sorry, but good morning and good afternoon to everyone.
Yes, we're so glad to hear you finally. So tell us, Annika, so why is President Biden's climate plan so groundbreaking, if we start in a more higher level discussion?
Well, I think, I mean, to say the least, the last couple of months have been very interesting, and to Swedes, I think it's fair to say encouraging, when we have seen the new and the very strong focus on climate and tackling climate change and facilitating all different kinds of activities. And I mean, we all know that President Biden rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement the first day in office, and since then has pledged to cut the greenhouse gas emissions by 50 or 52% from 2005 to 2035. 30, sorry. This is almost a doubling of previous pledges. So there is a strong commitment. Then there was the American Jobs Plan, the huge infrastructure plan, suggesting $2.3 billion to be spent on infrastructure, and a very large part of that, of course, on electrification, clean energy efficiency, efforts in the agricultural industry, and so on and so forth. And this, I think, is not only important on the federal level, but of course, this also encourages the state level and the city levels.
So, and as we know, in the New York State, they already have the most ambitious comprehensive climate and clean energy legislation already in the US and compared also globally. So, but what does the Green New Deal mean for New York, and why or how could this be beneficial for Swedish companies?
Well, I think that when we have continuous meetings, of course, not only with NYSERDA but also with many other stakeholders in the city and with the state and the neighboring states, for that matter as well. I think the plan really makes it easier for the states and the city governments to put their bold plans forward. There is a funding, there is a possibility of more funding, and there is a sense of collective sense of urgency, but also of possibility now. So we are sort of all acting in a situation where these questions and initiatives will probably, as far as we could see, become more easy.
And from the consulate, how could you support the Swedish interest and Swedish companies?
Well, I think the role of the consulate is really to facilitate. I mean, the US in itself is one of the most important export markets for Swedish companies. And also it's interesting maybe to underline to the Swedish markets, but also to the Swedish companies, but also to our American counterparts, is that Sweden is actually the 13th largest investor in the US, foreign investor in the US, despite being only the 90th largest company by population size. This shows that we have already extremely good, important relations with the US. So what the consulate can do, what embassies and consulates around the world are doing is obviously that we try to leverage that. We want to facilitate through contacts on state level, on city level, with the businesses in the local environment to see where we can help Swedish companies and others. And that is our daily business, so to say. And I think I would like to really stress how valued the Swedish leadership in sustainability is here, how it is perceived as an asset, which is really important for this market, and how also among investors, and we do have a lot of conversations with the investor community here, how sustainable investments is really growing to become a very, very important area. So with that, I think there is an opportunity, and Michael pointed out that New York could really be the entry point. There is a lot of movement going out on in the country, not only on the East Coast and the West Coast, but many places. So yes, we're here. We're here to help, to support, and we do hope that this hub could be a fantastic way of showcasing solutions or collaborative ways to work.
Thank you so much, Annika, for giving us the broader picture, but also how you can support us and the Impact Hub in different ways. So now we will hand over to Mike Izzo, Vice President Hines, New York. Good morning, Mike.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
See if I can see you. There you are. Hello. So tell me, what is Hines and what is your role in the company?
Sure. Hines is a global real estate investor, developer, asset manager, property manager, and construction manager. So we're very well integrated across 27 countries. We're also looking to expand into Asia Pacific right now. So we're one of the largest developers in the world. And I work in the New York office, but I'd say my role has transitioned thanks to the help of meeting some of the Nordic folks on the phone, really to more of an ESG champion, not only for New York, but the East region, and our central construction group has really taken notice of all the work we've done to date.
Yeah, and I guess that a lot of things is happening in the real estate sector in New York, and right now with the President Biden's interest, and also on a state level, there is an undergoing transformative change. Could you tell us more about this movement happening right now?
Yeah, I think real estate over the past probably 5 years has gone through a transformative change, or we're at the inflection point of one. Real estate as an asset has not changed very much at all for the last 100 years. But with the advance of technology, much smarter technology, much more affordable technology, really we're looking to adapt our business model. Are we a real estate owner, or are we an experiential creator? So we've been looking very closely at technology within the building on how do we create collaborative, inspiring types of space rather than just a place to sit and do your work. Because as a result of COVID, we know that we're much more comfortable at home. So if you put that type of pressure on top of climate change pressure and on top of investment pressure that's happening in the world today, our investors are coming to us with more aggressive goals than what's being practically implemented on the ground. So we see pressure from many different sides, the tenant, the investors, as well as legislation. So I think we're at an inflection point where real estate will move the fastest it's ever moved in the next 5 to 10 years. And it'll be truly transformative, just like LED were for light bulbs and cell phones were for telephones. I think we're at that point where buildings need to catch up to some extent in order to really be in the 21st century.
So you see a pressure from investors and the legislation part. So how have this changed the way you have to work?
Yeah, I mean, outside of all that was discussed previously, there's natural gas bans being applied throughout the region as well. So I think typically the way the energy side of a building or the energy infrastructure of a building was just assumed and it was ubiquitous, that was what you would do. And it really didn't drive a lot of asset value for the property. But now we're looking at it as its own standalone type of underwriting and value to the building. So separating the real estate from the systems that we choose within the buildings, how much energy do they consume, how many carbon emissions do they provide? We're providing the same level, if not more scrutiny to the systems within the buildings than we've ever had. And really, implementing capital, we implement capital already, but implementing the most efficient and smartest and most valuable capital is where we are on the infrastructure side right now. So it's fundamentally changed the way we work. We don't want to build the last best building under the previous regulations. We really want to take that leap and provide value to secure our asset for the next 10 years, because the transition will be very uncertain as far as the speed, but we know what is going to happen.
So, and Michael Reed from NYSERDA, he mentioned the Hudson Square properties and your partnership there and your work there. And Impact Hub will also be supported by Hudson Square Properties. Could you tell us more about this partnership? What is Hudson Square Properties?
Yeah, Hudson Square Properties, which I've been working in, we have a new development, but also an existing portfolio of buildings, 12 buildings, 6 million square feet. So it's a very large portfolio of 1930s, very old buildings that have been there since the war. So how do we bring these old assets up to the standards that there are today? We've seen this, in the past with, say, when elevators came online and HVAC. Some of those buildings were not designed for either, but we've adapted to them. And now we need another adaptation on how to bring these buildings into the future and really reduce our environmental footprint. So Impact Hub has been a great partnership. I think, the important thing to say there is that we're trying to create an ecosystem. It doesn't happen with just one great idea or one person pushing an idea. It's really a collaborative effort, and that's what's been so great about working with Will and you and others from the Nordics, as well as Michael Reed. We've involved academia, providing the most collaborative sort of cast and net. And Impact's Hub goal is to create an ecosystem, not only for technology advancements, but also on the investment side, entrepreneurship, bringing the legislators and commercial sector together to provide the best solution that works for everyone. Because once you have maximum acceptance of a solution, it will have maximum uptake in the market. So really transform the market. And having our pulse on that ecosystem at the speed of which this task is coming at us and this transformation is happening is extremely important.
So the results you want to see with the Impact Hub is really to create an ecosystem for the transformation and a collaboration between different stakeholders and bringing technology, but also investors and everyone that needs to be part of the transition. So
yeah,
the journey.
And typically real estate happens one building at a time, and that's not going to work in this effort in order to decarbonize New York. We need to think at a much higher level and what's beneficial for the entire system, not necessarily just an individual asset. And when I say system, I even mean a community, and much even larger than that.
So which kind of partnerships are you and the stakeholders in New York looking for to be part of the Impact Hub?
Yeah, some of the things we look for, and I think have been successful in the past, is really transparency with the right intent, right? A single solution is not going to transform our buildings, or a single product won't transform our buildings. It's really the higher level thinking. How does your solution fit into the overall goal of the building or the ecosystem within a building? So more solution-based providers that have technology that can leverage those solutions and really be implemented, and not look at it just on a siloed individual basis, but really a much broader basis, and how to drive the maximum efficiency. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, and just to take one or two pieces, is not that interesting, but to really have a system shift and a systems design shift are the partners that we're looking for.
Thank you, Mike. So now we will listen to David Suarez from Lexington Capital. And I was told just to ask you one question, and we'll let you talk. And you will elaborate on the potential of finance for market entry for the Swedish companies. So I will let you speak if you're there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. What was it? Were you going to ask me one question, or am I going to?
No, please.
Okay.
You were supposed to elaborate on the potential of how the Swedish companies could finance.
I had a really interesting comment on Michael's and your conversation. I think it's important to note that when you're dealing with companies of the size of Heinz, which are one of the largest in the world, I think you need to collaborate to provide almost a group solution to their contractors. So that would be collaboration. As in all business, we like to, as the saying goes, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So the idea is not to go in with a complicated single solution, but really go. I think Michael might be appreciative if there was more of a group solution. I think that's where Will comes in. So that's sorry. Thanks, Michael. Because That was one. But by way of a quick introduction, because I don't have the name like Heinz behind me or the consulate, so I thought I'd give a quick introduction. On a personal side, on a professional side, I've been a founding partner of 2 private equity funds here in the US and 1 debt fund, partnering with some of the larger financial institutions here in the US, worldwide as well. On the industry front, I'm past chairman of the Finance Committee for Smart Cities Council for 3 years. Speaking mostly on public-private partnerships and servicing over 180 US municipalities, and I'm past president of the Mortgage Bankers Association for New York. So I have a fair amount of connections that I can help with any company entering into the US and particularly the New York market. Lexington Capital, my company, is funded by a small family office, which is mostly my capital and some friends and family that I manage. I formed in 2009. We invest in infrastructure and real estate projects. Probably one of the few professional companies that do both. Most companies tend to specialize in either infrastructure or real estate. So I think that gives us a unique perspective on structuring transactions and investments. Our investments are designed to be both environmentally, economically, and socially productive. So those are the 3 keys I think today. Obviously, the ESG is the buzzword in the last few years. All big funds now are looking for ESG practice, which is great for this call, or all the attendees on this call. They're just simply not investing unless a company has ESG policy, which is up to date, and everybody wants economically feasible projects as well. And in infrastructure, Lexington has invested in energy-related projects, bringing capital, business, engineering, and financial expertise into our partnerships. Currently, Lexington has ownership in approximately 243 megawatts of microgrid power generation, with approximately 180 megawatts of power generation under development currently. We've also invested in developing a biomass to liquid fuel plant, sorting and converting municipal solid waste biomass into renewable diesel. This project we expect to come online in Q4 2022, and expect to build out a portfolio to be part of the solution to the municipal landfill.
Is that you, David, or is there someone else who just...
No, it wasn't me. I think someone didn't like what I said. Sorry. Possibly. I guess we were talking about municipal landfills and waste, so that may be the reason. But so we have a huge issue in the US here, and I would encourage anyone to reach out to me if you have any technologies that deal with municipal solid waste or waste to or any form of waste management technologies. We're very interested in investing in those and getting them to market here in the US. We have a huge landfill issue in the US. Some 3,400 municipal landfills, with over 50% of them at 90% or more of their air rights. So those landfills are facing a huge issue with what to do with their waste and how to cap their landfills with a budget they don't have. I'll try and keep this brief.
No, but if we say like this, if you're a Swedish company, so what is your advice to the Swedish companies that they are looking for finance for entering into the US market and also for financing their projects? What is your advice on that?
Well, project finance is fairly can be varied according to the technology, and the solutions for vertical technologies or one solution technologies such as the waste to energy are a whole different animal here, and the underwriting here is very different than it is in Europe. We are much stricter in terms of structuring offtake and feedstock contracts on such projects. So I would say you do need to speak to a professional, whether it's Lexton or someone else that is accustomed to the US market. You need to have the lay of the land of the local politics as well. Certainly NYSERDA in New York can help tremendously in that area. But if you're looking to get outside the New York market, then of course then regional politics comes into play, as in any country. But so you need to get your arms around that. But the financing itself is plenty of capital here. So I'm not trying to be negative. What I'm trying to say is that if the deals are structured properly, there is plenty of capital, cheap capital, to support project finance. On the investment side, at the corporate level for expansion, if your company is established, which I believe most of Will said most of the attendants here are established Swedish companies. I think you'll find that there are, and I can certainly make the right introductions. There are a number of funds that have recently geared up with capital to invest in sustainable companies, or companies that are suited to help the US and worldwide sustainable goals.
Mm-hmm. So your advice is get a local expert in financing and know your local policy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, you know thy customer, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I would caution that you must have a strong financing person helping you with this, because technologies tend to be mostly engineering and construction based. The expertise and there are so many different financing tools today, including support from entities like NYSERDA and other state and federal support. But also the financing tools today are very different. My project, I have 3 different structures that is available for our financial close, and I'll pick and choose which, depending on my long-term goals as well as my short-term necessity. So the US is the home of financial instrument. Yeah. So it isn't as simple as typical project finance has been in the past, with typically 65% debt and 35% equity. And on the corporate side, again, there's plenty of funds that are willing to invest in growth
Okay. Thank you, David. So now we will dive into the Accelerator program, also the showroom and our visions there. So I will hand over to Will.
Hi, thank you, Ann-Sofie, and great seeing you all, and thanks for the kind words, Michael and Mike, as well. So, true to our ambition and aim, we have been trying to get systems thinking and systems approach into the New York market. Although the concept of system is very ancient, but if you look at the energy systems today, when you think of integrated holistic solutions and use those terms for inquiry, decision-making, and approach, it's very absent. The energy systems of today, they are very large, very complex, and they have been getting more and more complex over the recent decades by introduction of new fuels, new energy systems that are getting connected into the grid, but they're very linear. So our aim has to be, how do we support New York market into this transition? And especially this information that essentially we also had to learn ourselves. We started looking into these things when we met with Heinz, we met with NYSERDA, and also from Norges's point of view and Hudson Square Properties. To create a holistic solution that can be applicable, applied into the New York market is not so easy. And as Michael Reed said, that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And that is an understatement. It's one of the most difficult markets, I think, globally, but also it offers a very good opportunity. So our focus has been to look at in three legs or three aspects. One is the technology aspect that essentially looks at the energy generation, distribution, and consumption. And then we're looking at the institutional side. And institutional side, apart from the great incentives and the great ambitious plans from the New York State and New York City, we're also looking at the financial structures, how the real estate markets operates today, and how it is being underwritten, how the risks are being managed. Because that is very crucial to putting the whole system together. What we have been able to do, fortunately, is that with this showcase, and this is sort of work, it has been a work in progress, which we worked with Mike and his team on a new build. And now with the NYSERDAs that Michael Reed mentioned in the work with their technical, their support on the technical solution, that we have been able to create a very innovative technical solution that can allow to scale through bottom-up approach. So in this showcase that we have created for this accelerator and for this Cleantech showroom, we have been able to deploy the most advanced hardware and software that we know of. Sweden, if you look at from the decarbonization, what has happened, and if you look at how Sweden and the Nordic countries have been able to decarbonize the grids, it is almost a textbook example in terms of reducing the carbon footprint per capita and not having the impact on the economic growth. So our aim has been, how do you create a technical solution? And Michael, what you mentioned, exactly the aim that we thought of, how do you create a technical solution that's replicable and scalable? And when we bring in the second aspect, which I talk about institutional, we are bringing in partners from the insurance side. We are also using the tools which are available in New York. And as everyone knows, New York has very, it's essentially a hub of capital markets globally. It has a lot of financial tools and incentives to support decarbonizing. And the advantage of this solution is that you allow to start reducing carbon footprint as soon as the solution is deployed. But the technology is not alone enough. We have to create spaces that are inviting, and storytelling has a very, very important aspect of this. And as a lot of you and we've discussed before, facts simply don't matter. Story makes a lot bigger impact than the facts. To create a whole story and have the technical solution embedded with and in tandem working at a very inviting space, we actually tied up with a very innovative architect from Gimme Shelter. So I'll hand over now to Emily, who is the CEO and founder of Gimme Shelter, who will show the vision.
So thank you for that, Will. I'm just going to make sure everyone can hear me. Great. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of the design concept and our aims for the space. So there's been three main focuses that has been leading this design process. First of all, it's about really engaging people and make sure we can really have an impact. The idea is to have a more hands-on showcase so that people can view the products and its systems in reality. So it will be a live system that really proves what is possible when it comes to fighting climate change. So no more reading a PDF about it. We will really demonstrate it in real life instead. Secondly, we're aiming for openness and the social part of this space. We want it to be really facing outwards. It's on display and it seeks engagement. We feel like it's a space for everyone to enter. With products and systems that are on such a showcase that they are easy to understand for anyone. The third main issue is that the design and architecture is intriguing and very interesting. So it brings curiosity for people to enter the space and want to be part of it for co-working, events, talks, etc. So in the design, we want also to people feel the sustainability in the sort of interior design. So we're looking at a combination of nature and technology. We're looking at more sustainable materials in the interior design. In this example, we use a lot of wood.
Sorry, are you supposed to show a picture here? We can't see anything.
Exactly. I'm gonna show you in 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna show you some pictures here. But first of all, I'm gonna walk you through the space through plans and elevation.
Yes, now we can see.
Perfect. I'm gonna go through sort of the planning here. So from 6th Avenue, you enter the space and walk straight into a more public sort of interactive gallery area. In the top left, we have an event space for both workshop, presentations, seminars. It's very flexible. In the other side, entering from Thompson Street, you find a more bustling social cafe area. And in the middle of the building, we have more fixed functions, such as toilet, storage, installations we don't really need to see. But more or less the rest of the space is really an open, airy space exhibiting all the products that is on showcase. So I think it's really an opportunity to inform and get the message out, but it's also even more hands-on because you can actually buy the products that's in this area. I'm going to show you. Kommer jag tillbaka här. So I'm going to go through some illustrations that we made from the interior. That's it. All right. So for an example, the modules that we offer from Gimme Shelter in varied size makes the meeting rooms, conference rooms, co-working spaces. So it's sort of a combination of open and closed rooms or pods. We will also have a complete house to demonstrate the technology fully as a showcase for an example. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let's see. And here is another example. I got so many pictures uploaded here, so. Oh, so that was not what I was looking for. Jag vill se den bilden jag har. Yes, so in this image,
we can't see anything.
Okay, sorry. Here, now you should see an image soon here. Can you see it now?
It's the same.
Perfect.
It's the same showed just previously.
Okay. But we can talk about this picture a little bit because here is also an example of how we showcase the product. So here you can see the air handling unit on top of the toiletry area. So it's not about like not showing everything. It's about the opposite. It's really showing how the system works and that everything is on display. So I'm gonna go back to. So I'm going to try to find the picture you didn't see. So did you see this one before?
Yeah. Yes, twice.
Twice. Okay, that's really weird. Okay. So now you should see a new picture, hopefully. So yes. This is also a view of more of the cafe area. So here also the modules I was talking about. Here you have one module that's more open space, and then to the right we have the heat pump. That is also very like open, central in this space and very close to the cafe area. So it's the same thing there. It's very much on display. But it's it's a little bit empty now in the illustrations, as you can see, with products. But that's where all you come in, and the community we hope to build up. Now I want to show you a very inspiring reference that we've been working on.
But the idea here was really to show the solutions in a concrete, environment.
Exactly, and just show a little bit of the sort of overall feeling that we're looking at. And this is a reference that we have been working with earlier. So this is a project where we've been part of the design and architecture. Hopefully you can see a video right now.
Yeah.
So it's called Norrsken House. It's situated in Stockholm and is founded by the Norrsken Foundation. So Norrsken supports entrepreneurs in 2 ways, and it's through an impact co-work event space like Impact Hub in this house that you see right now, and it's also through a VC fund which invests in companies where there is a potential to radically improve the world. So it's both social impact, it's clean tech, etc. So in this project we also work with a lot of community and how people interact, but also with the design. So you can see it has this very feeling of nature meets tech. But I think in Norrsken the focus has been a lot of the digital tech. So it's not anything on showcase in this space. You don't really see anything that people are working on here. So I think it's really an opportunity, and it adds an extra layer to the space in New York that we are showing the solutions physically. So I think it really proves in reality what is possible when it comes to tackling climate change. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily, for visualization and giving us an idea of how the Impact Hub could look like. And now I introduce you to John Paul and Archana from Impact Hub, New York, who will guide us through the Accelerator program.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ann-Sophie, for the introduction. I'm going to just start with a quick introduction of myself and hand it over to JP so he can introduce himself while we set up our presentation. My name is Archana Shah. Currently, just by way of background of how I ended up here is I worked in banking for about 20 years, first at JP Morgan, then at Morgan Stanley, always in a development market space, so emerging market financing, etc. And over that time, realized that there were more interesting ways to use finance. So banking was a great way to get trained, but realized over time that there could be more interesting things to do with finance. Discovered, if you will, microfinance along the way, and I worked at Grameen America as it was starting in the US for a year, and followed that by running a Center for Social Entrepreneurship in New York at Pace University for the past 6 years. So taken sort of a circuitous route into this space, realizing that social entrepreneurship is a really powerful tool to make an impact because it marries really well sort of the mission and the business aspects of creating solutions that for issues that we have been tackling for decades. I'm going to hand over to JP to introduce himself, and then we will present.
Thank you so much, Archana, and it's such an honor to be here. I have to say it's been such an inspirational opportunity to learn more about how the various aspects of the innovations that are coming from across the world can enter New York markets. I myself started at a very young age to become dedicated in the social impact sector, having witnessed the events of 9/11 as a teenager and deciding right then and there that I wanted to spend a career working to building relationships across the world that can be very collaborative and constructive to create better solutions for many of the challenges across the world, and ended up on a 13-year adventure learning and exploring the opportunities around economic development and some of the social challenges, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, where I spent many years building what is today one of the leading social innovation centers in Africa, Impact Hub Accra, which has spun off over the course of years, a health innovation center, as well as some of the largest events on the continent for bringing together the social impact sector with wide community engagement. And so I'm very honored to be able to come back to the New York area where I'm from, to be working to bring together a vision of an inspiring innovation center that's a bridge for both local community engagement and unlocking the potential of people who are building solutions in New York and making a bridge to the rest of the world, where we know that there's so many innovations, particularly in Scandinavia, that have a home in New York to help New York lead a movement around combating climate change and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we want to start with some mini introductions to ourselves, because we ourselves are coming from this trajectory of really being 100% dedicated to being able to make an impact, and to do so in a very collaborative framework that we think that speaks perfectly to the innovation space at 100 Avenue of the Americas. With that, I'm going to try to share my screen. For some reason, I'm having a little bit of difficulty, so I appreciate your patience on that front. I might have to do it this way. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. But it's not in presentation mode, but yeah.
Yeah, how about now?
Yes, now.
Excellent. So I'm going to pass it to Archana for a moment. Oh. There we go. Archana?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let me start again. So we gave you introductions of ourselves as individuals, but we also wanted to give you a context of how Impact Hub New York metropolitan area fits into this picture, and why are we relevant for what we are thinking about here. So Impact Hub New York metropolitan area is part of one of the largest networks, or the largest network of social innovators around the world. We are located in 100 cities in over 60 countries around the world, and a community of about 17,000 entrepreneurs. And we estimate the impact has been over 100 million people have been reached through the innovations and the work that Impact Hub has done. We work on kind of a concept of inspiring, enabling, and connecting. And to answer to JP's comment earlier about collaboration, this is part of our ethos and the way we work as impact hubs around the world. Our framework, or our vision, is aligned with the SDGs. So all impact hubs around the world focus on the SDGs, and how they execute that vision is local and regional to their various communities. One thing that we do want to emphasize when we talk about collaboration, the proof is really in the pudding. Some of our global partners have been Climathon, GIZ, which is part of the German government, the EU, UNDP, the BMW Foundation, IKEA, Swiss Agency for Development and Incorporation, just to name a few. So we are, as a network, very comfortable and have history of working with large governments and large government agencies to put forth an impact agenda. I'm going to give it to JP to kind of talk more about the local sort of New York market and what our vision is for the metro area.
Thanks. So given our very large global network, as well as our position in New York metropolitan area, based in New York, we really have, we are dedicated to adding a tremendous amount of value to the global movement towards achieving the SDGs, in particular, taking climate action, which is the most urgent need at this time globally. There's no city in the world that has the potential to make a difference to taking climate action than New York. Between the thousands of companies that are here, of so many kinds, the research institutions that are present in the city and around the city, the number of universities that are that have the opportunity to lead the world in understanding the problems at large that we're trying to solve, as well as the presence of the UN, global actors, and in the case of this presentation, also some of the largest real estate firms that are globally active in New York. We really understand that this is an opportunity to develop a leading center, leveraging our global network, leveraging a vision of many partnerships to be able to get this off the ground. And the thought on the Innovation Center is not for it to be just another co-working space. There are plenty of co-working spaces in New York already. We want this to be a groundbreaking innovation center that provides experiences that help to bring to reality the emerging concepts around the future of work and how we can do so in a carbon neutral and a carbon negative way. As we know, there's more carbon in the atmosphere already, that even if we stopped putting carbon in the atmosphere, it's not enough. And so we really believe that we have to unlock the potential to bring together a wide variety of actors to be able to tackle these challenges. And we believe that New York is the best place in the world to figure that out, because what happens in New York happens in cities across the US, and it happens across the world. And so we look at New York as essential to being able to combat climate change. And we believe that with our partners, Heinz Herbs, as well as the many partners that are part of our work in New York and our global presence of social innovators across the world, that we can really do something that's incredibly impactful, and that generations from now will be thankful that we have done this all together. And which is why, in particular, it's such an honor to be able to engage the Scandinavian leaders who have for many years been helping the world understand so many different aspects of how we can live better, how we can live more sustainably, and to take some of these innovations and really showcase them. And so the work of Impact Hub is very broad ranging, and to be able to have the opportunity to unlock potential, we really look at the engagements between different segments of the population. So everything from your common person who's a New Yorker who plays a role in the social impact sector through their consumption and the decisions that they make at the market, all the way to entrepreneurs who are scaling, to stakeholders who are making decisions. And so we do this through events and conferences that bring together many different kinds of people who have different perspectives, and we have the opportunity to deliberate on social topics around innovation, and can do so as examples around how do we unlock the funding in the city that can be used to support innovative solutions to climate action? How can we think differently about how we are structuring the opportunities for the innovation process such that they're informed more holistically than just working in a silo and coming up with a solution without understanding how it impacts various communities across the region that they're being developed, so that we can not solve one problem while contributing to another. And we do this through wide networking opportunities and increasing visibility for innovators with excellent solutions, and by introducing them in the front to leading stakeholders and people who have the resources and the insights to contribute to bring innovations to the marketplace. We also build community around cultural activities that highlight the various ways of being able to approach problems, and we run incubators and acceleration programs. An example being the Blueprint 2021 program, which we just concluded, which supported outstanding individuals who were building innovative initiatives during the COVID-19 crisis to build healthy communities within the New York metropolitan area, as well as a program that we're launching called Data, which takes entrepreneurs who are based in the New York metro area who are looking to expand their solutions toward climate action to West Africa, that they're able to do so and cut the red tape around their activities. We also build wide-ranging partners, and we host collaborative spaces, which during COVID-19 was not something that was at the forefront of our work, but now with this coming Innovation Center, we're excited to be able to do that because we believe that people, by meeting in person, are able to build much more meaningful relations, and it accelerates people's understanding of how they can move their work forward.
Should we do next slide? Oh, there we go. One back. Can you go back one?
It should be the partners.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, it looks like that to me.
It is the partners. We can see the partners.
Okay, so now I can. So we talked about our global partners. Obviously, the relevance is New York. These are just some of the partners we've worked with in 2020. And you can see a broad range from academic institutions to innovative initiatives like Macola or Zena, or even agencies like New York EDC, Economic Development Corp, and New York City Emergency Management. We also have relationships with the United Nations Foundation, funders like, or philanthropy organizations like Candid, other organizations that are working in the social impact space like the David Prize, and not just in New York, but also have ties, as we said, with our network of different hubs, both in the US and across the world. And these are just some of the ones we worked with last year. But it gives you a very good sense of the breadth of our reach, and really speaks to the collaborative nature of our work in ecosystem building, which I think many have mentioned before. We hope this page gets more crowded and increases in the number of partnerships we continue to work with, because we also believe that no one organization is an expert in the space, and that through collaboration, we're going to get optimal solutions. Can you go to the next one? So a lot of people with a lot more expertise in climate than myself have talked about why New York, right? So we, just in the last 6 months, 5 months, the US has kind of come back to the climate space, And New York State has always been committed to clean energy and an aggressive climate agenda, and one of the most aggressive in the country. The 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, 100% zero emission electricity by 2040, 70% renewable energy by 2030 is just some of the goals that New York State has out there. And as a global center of global economy, New York, and a leading city, we really need your solutions to move the needle and to catch up into this space. And so we're really excited to see innovations come into New York, and as Impact Hub, really just support that success and bring the New York State sort of energy goals to life here.
So we are really excited about a program that we are working on with Herbs and Heinz called the Global SDG Foundry, which specifically will help make that bridge where companies who have solutions that are ready to be deployed in New York can come and make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be able to do so rapidly and scale to our markets. At this time in particular, because it is such an opportune moment, and because of the partners that are on board, we believe that this is a really fundamentally important way that we can start growing our impact in New York by leveraging existing expertise from across the world. So basically, this program itself is a cohort-styled program, and our focus is to be able to support entrepreneurs who are in the real estate sector. And this particularly because the carbon footprint in New York is very large from its many buildings, as we know, and it's a leading source of carbon. And so we wanted to run the first cohort around companies that have solutions such as heat pumps, thermal storage, control systems, wooden facades that are sustainable, smart water solutions, energy balancing tools, IT solutions, environmentally friendly building materials and paints, and others that can help individuals, property owners, and a wide array of other stakeholders within the ecosystem to all begin to understand and take action towards reducing their carbon footprint, which also serves to as an opportunity for building general awareness, because we know that through awareness, people also learn more and they become more conscious of the decisions that they make and how they affect, in this instance, carbon output. And so the program itself is a cohort-styled, customized experience composed of group workshops and one-on-one expert sessions. We really believe strongly in being able to bring entrepreneurs who are all solving for the same problems from different perspectives together in the same room, because there are so many opportunities to learn from each other and to be able to leverage the different opportunities that everyone uniquely stumbles upon as they are growing their companies, building their solutions, and networking across the ecosystem. And on that front as well, we think that there's a real value in having a blended format kind of program where there are these group workshops around some of the topics that you see below, with opportunities to dive deeper with your team, with session experts who have the expertise to work with you on the specific nuances that are relevant for your company. And so the US Cleantech policy landscape, for example, is evolving really rapidly. And there's different nuances in each state and each city as far as opportunities that are available for entrepreneurs. And so one of the things that we think are really important to be able to provide for entrepreneurs is to be able to understand where there are opportunities and at what financial and development level those opportunities influence for them. And so making sure that people are abreast of that is important. Obviously, the US market fit would be important as well. Many products will require either a specific marketing strategy that's different from their fit within their original origin of development, as well as being able to tweak the products to also fit certain standards or specifications that are relevant for our market. Stakeholder engagement is essential. If you don't know the right people in New York, it can take a lot more time to figure out the best way for you to scale your solution, and also to even be aware of the kinds of partners and the opportunities that are available to you. And of course, legal support and being able to find the right way to incorporate here fundraising planning, as a lot of funding is unlocked in New York for taking action on climate change. We understand that there are a wide variety of tools that can be used for fundraising that are really specific to the US market. And so working with the entrepreneurs to understand fully what opportunities are available to them, again, very important. Peer entrepreneurship exchange, of course, and broad opportunities for collaboration through our many partners, but then also through the engagements that we will build specifically for the cohort to bring them more visibility, to put them on panels so that wide arrays of stakeholders and industry members can network and be inspired to get involved to bring these ideas forward. Some of the exclusive benefits that we're really excited that our partners are bringing as well to this program are the opportunity for selected companies' components of their products to be included in the systems of the building where we develop this innovation center for the purposes of being able to have this physical demonstration of these amazing products, so that also the adoption rate and the sale rate is increased, so we can actually spread these ideas. We also will be able to, through our partners, be able to present many of these products to finance projects within the city, where they can be used as solutions and have the opportunity to actually build pilots and scale to buildings across New York, which is the goal. And then as well, our partners will be able to specifically be able to introduce the cohort members to a wide array of investors in the sector who will either be able to hopefully contribute significant capital needed to be able to meet the market, and then also be able to purchase the solutions as well. Access to the climate insurance package for the US is also something that is a really unique value proposition that we would be able to provide through this program, as well as really special access to the network of real estate sector public stakeholders and corporations that only partners like Hines would be able to provide. In addition, obviously, we view this as an opportunity to really have a launch pad for you in the city where your company can have its home base and all the amenities of being able to provide that while your team may initially also be abroad, for you to be able to comfortably be able to conduct your operations here from day one, which is very important. So this is an incredibly special program, and we believe that this program itself has the opportunity to grow exponentially as we are able to work with public sector and many partnerships as the whole infrastructure for combating climate change through innovations evolves and becomes one of the biggest movements in our time to make an impact to change markets, change the economy, and solve this big problem. So New York is ready for you. We are hoping to launch this program in fall 2021, and we are excited for anyone to reach out to us, and you can do so at our email address here for more information, and then also to be on the radar as we have a call for applications later. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you. And we do have some questions now. So is there any link to more information about the program for startups? So maybe I can answer that. So maybe we will we'll do a follow-up after this meeting and send out information to each one of you and follow up individually with you. So yes, so that was the first question. The second one is, how can you support in mitigating trade barriers such as UL compliance and US certifications? And I see if Will, would you like to answer that?
So I think we've been trying to partner with a lot of engineering companies and contracting companies who are a little bit more innovative and see which are the US codes and compliances we can do. So that's sort of our role with Impact Hub, to bring in the technical expertise and the network there. So we should be able to support finding right partners that can introduce your products and see what compliance needs to be done.
Or Michael Reed, would you also like to answer that question if you have some help from my service part? It looked like you were nodding, or...
Well, just I was nodding because I think it's a barrier. No, we, I think that we're around, we're available to support, but we don't have like a formal program that helps on that front.
No. So I will open up for everyone. David? Oh, we can't hear you. Yeah.
I'm on mute, sorry. It goes back to the point earlier on, I think, I mentioned with Michael. I think if you pair up these the special services with appropriate contractors, whether they be Swedish or not, the local contractors will be fully aware of all those compliance issues.
Any other comments, questions from the audience?
I would just say I haven't seen it as a long-term barrier. Those types of issues get resolved pretty easily. It's just taking the first step, and they're usually relatively inexpensive, may take a little bit of time, but once you're over that first hurdle, it's pretty easy to get into the market. And we've seen it with other companies just recently going down the same route.
So any other questions from the audience? No. So today we've been listening to why we should be in New York and in the US and working in the real estate sector with a collaborative model. And we also heard that there is financing available for your market entry for your projects, but you need to find the experts that could structure this in the right way and give you the right advices. We also heard about the bold plans on what we would like to do with the showroom, a physical space linked to the Impact Hub. And also finally, we heard about the offer from Impact Hub on the Accelerator program. So we will get back to you all in the coming days. And by that, I would like to thank you all for being part of this.
There was a final question.
Okay. Please go ahead. Let's see. I have a question, a smaller tech and design provider. Yeah.
Hi there. I'm showing my face. Maybe it's easier.
Yes.
So
yeah.
we design heat exchangers that would go into the production of heat and cooling, but we're a small company. So the obvious question for an SME like us is who should we partner with among the companies you've had here to be part of a bigger solution? Thanks.
Yeah, you should join the program. You will know about it. No, but maybe I will hand over to the experts in New York if you have a short answer.
Without knowing your specific technology, it's a little hard to kind of pinpoint, but I think as we speak to different solution providers, obviously it's a network that's very, very large. And I've seen connections made in other accelerators that you wouldn't normally think was a connection. So I think there's opportunity in many different avenues. And if we, understood your technology a little bit more, we'd see who the right partner might be. But there could be local providers and also global providers that might benefit from your product as well, not just the market.
Okay. So thank you all and see you soon, I hope. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.